Hello, cats and kittens, or the wild say, Yoroshku. We're back in the crisis corner on in the creative corner. This is an interesting one. This is technically Manga Monday, and we know that One Piece is still on hiatus. So I says, what other manga should I review or give my impressions on? Well, the American manga that I write. Intrepid. So technically, this is Manga Monday, C3 Weekly, and the Creative Corner combined. So you can call it whatever you want. My main thing here is I'm doing creator commentary, continuing the creator commentary, this time on Intrepid issue 5. So let's dig into it. Giving you my creative commentary. I'll share this with you. And here we are. Intrepid issue 5. Let me pull back so you can see the beautiful cover that Montos did. Featuring the only actual heroes that appear in the Heroes and Villains story arc, the Golden Brigade. I had fun designing these guys, but it's the Golden Brigade. They're the superheroes of Mexico. Good guys. Anyway, let's get into the I guess you say the forward. For the preamble to this thing. I always do a preamble to the episodes. So we're here, Heroes and Villains. Episode actually is 5 of 7, but this is old cover, an old inside cover. So we are at Hearts Lost in the Desert Sun. That was a weird title. For some reason, I was looking at Inuyasha or something, and Kagomi's voice came into my head, and Hearts Lost in the Desert Sun. Anyway, the title of issue 5 is Hearts Lost in the Desert Sun. So the breakdown goes like this. It has all come to this. Despite his best efforts, Joseph Paxson was unable to prevent his best friend and teammate, Lieutenant Navia Chavez, from being transformed into an unstoppable killing machine at the hands of the insidious dark science cabal known as the Store. In response to Lieutenant Chavez's slaughter of the town of San Miguel, the Mexican government had little choice but to call upon the power of their greatest heroes, the Golden Brigade, and a battalion of their finest soldiers to put an end to Lieutenant Chavez's rampage by any means necessary. Unwilling to abandon his friend to her fate, Paxson, along with his newfound allies, Keith Dawson, world-renowned scientist, Annabella Silstione, and her father Vincent, undertake a last-ditch effort to head off the inevitable confrontation between Chavez and an army bent on her destruction. Our story continues. The beauty of this issue to me was that Paxson did everything that he could, and he was willing to. This is the extent of his resolve to save. This is how much Nadia meant to him. He is willing to risk his life to save hers. He's thinking if he can stop her from get to her before the army gets there, he can talk her down some way, somehow talk her down and get her to surrender. He knows that she's done some terrible things and she has to answer for them, but he knows that it's not her fault. She's been turned into something and she needs help. So his thing is, let me get to this girl, get her to stop in her tracks, and everything else will take care of itself. So that's the beauty of this. That's why I love this episode. And it's a 2-part fight that carries over into issue 6, because up until this point, you had the story had been front loaded with some action, and then there's a lull where you do flashbacks in classic manga tradition. You had to do some flashbacks, and then you get caught back up at the present. So you get caught back up at the present with issue 4, and now 5 puts you into the end game of this arc, which is How do you save her? How can he save her? Can she be saved? And who will survive? And all of that good stuff. So it's just action. At this point, I just put away all of the nonsense and said, let's get to it. Although there's a brief um, bit at the beginning, which we're looking at now, uh, but there's still a little bit of dialogue here because he's found Nadia and he's trying to talk her down. He's trying to reason with her in some kind of way. I should go bigger. So he's pleading with her, stop, blah, 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 but she's still speaking this language that he can't understand. Bella doesn't understand it, and she knows most languages and their phonetics, and she can't understand it. She's saying this thing ain't even human, what she's saying. It's not that it's not English, it ain't human, man. Human vocal cords can't make those sounds, and I don't understand what she's saying at all. So he's stalling as much as he can. You got your man Keith, who's playing lookout to make sure nobody's coming or arriving, and he's telling them hurry up, but he runs out of time. Again, he's trying to shake sense into her, and she's still talking nonsense, whatever. And the worst case, as Keith puts it, what did he say? Hold on a second. He said the sum of all fears is at the back door. I like this bit. I mean, the prelude to the fight to me works because Paxton here is at his wit's end. I mean, this is the first time that you actually see him panic because he's like, these people are coming and they're going to wipe you out, and he's telling her, but he can't get through to her. And then you get the telepathic joint from the general. He's like, yo, man, I'm here. The general announces his presence, and Paxton kind of knew that was going to be the case because the dude, is, a ninth level telepath, whatever. He knew that the general was basically aware of the situation. He just needed more time to get her to calm down, and it seemed to have been working. But when the general arrives, everything just goes straight down the tubes. It's over. Nadia falls back into the trance. The machine takes over, and that's it. This is my favorite bit. This is my favorite image, probably, of the book. Because again, what would you do to save your best friend? He's basically saying, to save this girl, I'm going to stand off against all of these people. And it's our army, man. It's a lot of people. You got the Golden Brigade backed by a battalion of soldiers, and he's the only thing standing between them and her. Not that he thinks that he can defeat these people, don't get me wrong. It's just one of them things where he's like, give me more time. And then everything quickly falls apart. He's begging the general, I need more time. Let me do such and such. And the general's like, look, it's over. It's one of those things where you got to stop thinking with your heart and think with your head. Step aside and let us put an end to her. The talk doesn't work. Nadia's lighting up, the optic beams to, fire at the general. Paxton's telling her stop. Everything just going just down the tubes. And Keith gets the last second save. He zips in that last panel on the page. Right before she shoots, he runs in and gets Paxton out of the way. She lets loose, and then everything just falls apart. The battle is on. Okay. The brigade attack. That's it. So the fight's engaged. The other bit that I like is that it's not even that subtle. I like the relationship between Paxton and Keith, and that there's a comical aspect to it, but they're brothers. I mean, this is like that Nakama thing, you know what I'm saying? They're brothers, is what I'm saying. And they're arguing in the middle of this ridiculous situation. Keith keeps bringing up the fact that Paxton owes him a bar. And Paxton's like, look, I said I'm sorry. I mean, this is an argument that's going on in front of the troops, and they're about to arrest you. And he's like, I told you, I'm sorry about that. He said, well, sorry, basically, it don't put a roof over my head or food on my plate. And he's like, screw you and your bar. I'm sick and tired or whatever. And then the general's like, look, come along peacefully. You're under arrest, basically. You know, it is. I like this page. I just like this page. And then it's on. It's like Paxton's like, I ain't coming along peacefully. I gotta save my girl, and Keith has his back. That's what brothers do. Is it the smart play? Probably not. But it's the only play that Paxton's willing to make, and Keith's got his back. So that I love the dynamic between those two. It's an odd couple type deal, but it's that friendship deal. So, and that's juxtaposed with the fact that while they're out there trying, and Paxton makes it clear, he says, do not, what he says? He says, they're federal agents, don't hurt them. Paxton's like, Keith's, define hurt. He says, kill or permanently maim. So they got to try to subdue them without killing anybody or permanently hurting anybody, which is a ridiculous task, but it's on. Juxtapose that with Bella, who's back in the ship, the craft that they got there in, with Vincent. Their backup, their plan B. Paxton plans everything out. Plan A was to talk her down. Failing that, we're in plan B at this point. And basically, at that point, we engage and basically find our way to her and see where we can get from there. And Bella is air support. So she's going off to do her air support thing, and Vincent's like, look, this is actually a good time to get out of here, because initially, Keith asked Vincent to bring Bella to Mexico to help get Paxton back on his feet when he was suffering those seizures. She did that. So Vincent's point is, look, you've done what they asked you to. This is like extra nonsense. Let's get out of here. Basically, let's abandon them. He said, or as he puts it, abandon them a little. Because he knows she's a bleeding heart and he's trying to get her to leave. This doesn't concern us. And, being kind hearted as she is, Bella's thing is, no, come on, I can't abandon these guys. They're all right. This is all a big adventure to her. This is the adventure of her lifetime that she's been waiting for. So she's basically saying, look, let us super folks handle this. Speaking mainly of herself and Keith. We'll take care of this. You stay here where it's safe. Thinking that he's like, she doesn't know that he has abilities, but whatever. So, yeah. And then she goes off to help Keith and Paxton fight their way through the army to get to Nadia, who's facing off with the Golden Brigade. So the army's just there to corral, to clear the area so that the Golden Brigade can take care of Nadia. And Paxton and Keith are doing a reasonable job. They haven't killed anybody, but they've mashed their way through. They're doing their job. They're trying to get through to Nadia, but Nadia is decimating the Golden Brigade. In truth, this came off rougher than I wanted it to, and I regret that to a certain extent. But that's the only way I can take this illustratively, I mean, she's mauling them. It's not even, I wanted to show her threat level by use of the Golden Brigade, who, the reader wouldn't know that much about them, but they're capable, obviously. They're basically the Avengers of Mexico. Like the Avengers, like Marvel's Avengers. Anyway, or X-Men, or you can put it any way that you want. And she's having her way with them. She's just doing away with them one by one. Not necessarily, all of them don't get like killed, permanent, like whatever, but they're not having too much success. This whole thing with she's engaged with one, another one sneaks up behind her. She does that whole head turn thing. Well, she turns her head 180 and zaps the other one. It's rough. It's just whatever. Now this page was interesting because I can't Pregona. she has the ability to phase through things. I'm not sure that came across entirely. She swoops down, she has the wings. She swoops down and distracts Nadia, phases through her, basically setting her up for what's his name? Tonachi. I can't even get the names right. Who is a fire based superhuman, and she just nukes her. Boom. The whole area basically is nuked. And they're like, it's over. Game over. She couldn't survive that. And of course she does. It's like Jason or Michael Myers. She just keeps coming. She's a tank. He tries to get her to shoot again, tries to get dude to nuke her again, but it's too late. She zaps my man with some lightning, which is interesting. If her main ability is to absorb ambient energy and recompose it in some kind of way. So, like if you throw energy at her, she can recompose it and dish it out in a different way. So basically, she took his fire, recomposed it into lightning, and shot it back at him, and that's it. Whether he survived or not, he hit the ground, so he's out of the fight. Let's look at it that way. Now comes my man Cobra Khan. I love this bit because it's I robbed this joint from Transformers the movie, where the Autobots are swooping in on the Decepticons. Optimus Prime had just arrived on Earth to try to stop the Decepticons' rampage of Autobot City on Earth, and he's got the Dinobots in the back of the plane, and they're swooping down, and he just basically tells Grimlock, and the rest of them, destroy Devastator, because Devastator was down there, wreaking havoc. And so the general just says, like, Cobra Khan, he said, yes, kill it. And he said, yes, So man grows to this enormous size, and he's like casting a shadow over Nadia. I cut from there. And we go back to the Intrepid crew, and Bella she's showing her form. She's good. She's powerful. She's capable. She basically, because they were being attacked by these giant Imperial Walker type things, she basically got rid of them without killing anybody. She just basically levitated them and shook the people out of, in my mind, she just took them and tossed them somewhere so that they wouldn't be any problem. And the soldiers, showing some common sense, they just took off. They said, "There ain't no need to fight this woman. Let's get out of here, or at least let's fall back." As they say, fall back. And as this is going on, they're like, "What's the next move?" You hear this big bang, and Cobra Khan, I think his name, comes crashing down out of the sky, defeated, alive but defeated. He's no longer a threat. Nadia defeated him quickly. Next time you see her, she's got a couple of more of these guys defeated. If hopefully they're alive. I can't say. What did it say? Let me see. It says she's out of control. La Venta and Tonatiuh and El Camillo, whatever. No, they got killed. So Cobra Khan's been badly wounded, and it's going bad. And she's like I said, she's running through them. It's getting really, really bad at this point. And at this point, not yet. Okay. We get another understanding of Nadia's abilities is that she's able to determine threat levels. She has tactical optics where she can look at the person, because when she highlights Paxton, you see just the silhouette of the dude and the focus is on the weapons. Okay, she highlights Keith, you see the silhouette of the dude and his mace. Then she looks at Bella, she's just radiating energy, so she's looking at her and saying, all right, Bella's the threat that I need to get rid of first. And Paxton realizes this, so he's like telling her to leave, fall back, because she's going after you. You know what I mean? She's determined at threat level, and Bella is a person that needs to be dealt with. So Paxton's, yeah, out of concern, get out of here or move back or something. Let us try to deal with her up front. Vincent ain't having it. He's still in the plane, so he's like, screw that. You ain't killing my daughter, so he just flies and just starts lighting her up. Now they ain't having it. Another optic beam barely misses. Okay, El Brujo. All right. So while she's distracted, El Brujo musters up some kind of lightning storm or a storm. It is basically. She conjures up some kind of storm by whatever means, and she's beseeching her God or whatever to help avenge her fallen comrades or whatever. Now, mind you, this is whoever she's beseeching is not the issue. It's that she has the ability to conjure up these storms or whatever, kind of like Storm from X-Men. And she lets loose with lightning again. Not bad. Hits her. But the problem is she can recompose energy, so she takes the hit, and it hurt, no doubt. She recomposes and shoots it back at her Brujo. She's done. She is done. This is possibly alive, but not effectively in the game anymore. So that's done. So this takes Bella off. I mean, she at this point she's like, look, this is ridiculous. You know what I'm saying? We gotta take her out. Vincent doesn't want her engaging because he told her from the beginning, I know that you want to be a hero and all this stuff, but you've had no training except for your little simulations that we saw in the first issue, where she performed well, but she has no practical experience in these type of fights. He's trying to get her to back off, and of course, being I guess not naive, but just kind of like headstrong. She says, "I got this," and she does well. She encased her. Bella's thing is to manipulate gravity and essentially manipulate gravity. So she puts a cell around Nadia. A cell is basically pumping pressure. It's a pressure cell, basically. She's encased in this pressure cell that is just pumping pressure towards her. Enough pressure to basically crush a submarine. And it's holding her in place, but she's tough enough to resist it and not be killed, which is cool because Bella's intent is not to kill her, it's to contain her. So she's got her contained in this pressure cell, and she's like, all right, I got you. It's over. Unfortunately, Nadia hits her with sonics. She does a sonic scream, basically, which, well, the effects of pressure on sound, basically, I had it working anyway. So the sound gets through the cell and hits Bella and breaks her concentration. At that point, she fires up another optic beam and grazes her shoulder, her arm, breaking it, but not, ripping it off or anything. At this point, Vincent's had enough. So he sets his plane to auto destruct and flies it straight at Nadia, apparently on a suicide run. And the last thing that we see is kaboom. That's it. So that's the cliffhanger. Since the series is still going on, clearly, some stuff happened. I ain't gonna give away spoilers, but Vincent's still alive. Anyway. We still haven't determined what his ability is, but we probably got a good idea at this point. Anyway, so she's screaming, Daddy, she thinks her pop has been killed. And he blew himself up to save her life. So, next issue, resurrection. Now, what resurrection of what? We'll see. Is it Vincent? Is it so-and-so? Whoever. Is it the Golden Brigade people? I don't know. We'll see. That'll be the next focus of our creator commentary. But I love this issue because it's, like I say, it's rougher than I intended it to be, but it's because I intended the story to be more closer to a PG 13. Uh, yeah, it could have been. Because I'm shooting for Fantastic Four. And Fantastic Four, is softer than this. But this is not the team in their final form, and this is seat of the pants. Happens as it happens. Some of these things, if you had more experience, first of all, you can't control every situation, so some things just happen. But this is the Intrepid unit before they became a team, and they walk into a situation that is just out of control. And this is what happens when you walk into situations that are out of control. People get hurt, some people get killed. It is what it is. But I really think that this Montos did a great job with the art, and I think it came off very well. And I think 6 was just as good or even better. I think 5 is no, I think 5 is overall more impactful than 6. 6 had its issues towards the end, but we'll get to that in a minute. So that's it. That's in the creator commentary on Intrepid, issue 5, Hearts Lost in the Desert Sun. And next creator commentary, we will look at issue 6, Resurrection. Hope you enjoyed it. Let me know your comments. If you have the issue and you've read it, let me know what you think. And until next time, stay loose.